Then John Moody, equally needs very little introduction.
The General
John Moody. And then next to John, also needs no introduction, we've got Mr. Funzi Ngobeni. With that, welcome everyone, to those I haven't seen. I'll open now for questions. If you can indicate the media house that you represent, as well as to whom you are you're directing your question. I can only imagine who it's going to be for all of you, but I just thought for good measure I should take that. Elisa, your hand was up first. I'll take your hand. You will get your chance. Elisa, go ahead.
SABC Television News. Of course, the question goes to you first. You're saying you joined Action SA, and I'd like to quote you because of the hope that the party is invoking. Could that mean that the party that you were part of, the Democratic Alliance, could it mean that you felt that they did not invoke that hope for South Africans anymore? Thank you.
Thank you. Don't jump at any time, Abo. You are welcome.
Bongile Tumako, SABC News. Lengas Bongani to you. Why now? You've explained the reasoning, your vision, but the timing, right? Why now? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Ndayeso from Power FM. Again, it's to Bongani as well. And Demashab, when did you have that conversation that you mentioned, that glass of wine?
No, it wasn't just a glass of wine. It was a nice lunch with a glass of wine.
Yeah, sure. When at what period did it happen? Was it after the formation of Action SA, before, after the local government elections? And also, Bongani, just after the conversation, what is it that then made you decide to leave? Was it, what were the main issues that decided, I think Action SA is the best home for me? I think that's the long and short of that question. Thank you.
Okay, Emma, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Kelana Pahadi, Newsroom Africa. Bongani, of course, one of the youngest people that when we got into journalism, we had to note that you were one of the youngest mayors and doing very well, clean audits. But I would need to ask, besides you feeling that it was time to move into a new umbrella of shade where you could be able to prosper as an individual and bring about some change, were you purged out of the Democratic Alliance? Was there a disagreement beside the way that you've gone out? You say you've gone out with dignity. Were there fundamental differences that made you change your tune about the way you feel that the DA is moving into the trajectory of having one South Africa act as one, your motto there? The second one to you, Mr. Mashaba. You say from Zanin to elsewhere in the country. How far is the process of erecting those branches across the country of yours, and what is your target?
Erecting or election?
Electing.
Or erecting. Getting the
Erecting.
Okay.
I got it. I just had to be sure.
I'm going to come to you. The lady had the hand up first, so please go ahead. Sorry, I can't see everybody under the mask, so yeah.
It's Ando Mayako from Business Day. So this question is for Mr. Baloy. What role would you be playing in the Senate before you become actually a premier candidate?
Great.
Mr. Baloy, do you think the return of dear leader Helen Zille has done more damage to the party than good, particularly following the fact that the exodus of black leaders joining Action SA came after her coming into the party? That's one question. Number two, maybe directed to Mr. Mashaba. What's your stance on Makosi Khoza's departure? Particularly because there's been rumors around there having been ANC insiders in the party trying to cause division in Action SA and factions. Maybe number three, what's your point again on the issue of locals having to take the law into their hands, removing foreign nationals from their shops, saying that they are taking more jobs and that the current party has not addressed the issue of democracy. Thank you very much.
Great. I think that's a mouthful. We can take another round if there's still an appetite. But Dr. Balo, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you so much. Do I need a mic?
Yeah, I think this one's fine.
Okay, thank you. I'll deal with the easy ones. I'll leave the difficult ones to Dr. Mashab. I think these are very important questions. The first one from SABC. If I say I like red, does it mean I hate blue? That's the gist of the question. When the response is really, when you reflect on this party, what it has achieved in a very short space of time, and if you also have a deep dive into the South African politics, and you see what they've been able to do, just opposed to that. Now, if that does not inspire you, there's generally something wrong with you. I think in this vision that as I see, if I can put it in football terms, Mr. Mashaba is building Sundowns. This is what is happening here, really. So it's not about where you are from and whatnot. I had a fantastic journey in the Democratic Alliance. I have many battles in the Democratic Alliance. I was very aware that when you join politics, you're not joining some crash society. It's a serious task where you have conversations and disagreement about the policy expressions or articulations of that party and where to take the country. So naturally, you're not going to find, it's not going to be a choir where everyone sings the same and has the same views. You're going to differ. But I have a full appreciation of that. And I did not leave because of that. I'm nobody's victim, by the way. I came here on my own accord. I left on my own accord and I'm still wanted. Where just the other day, I was still speaking to Helen Zeller. And there's no beef at all. And I get it because it's the first time as South Africans in South African media, you see a politician who's successful, who does not have a bad record, who's not being chased out of office, and who decides to exit gracefully. And why now? It's a perfect time now. I did not disrupt government where I was leading in Midvaal. I allowed for a transition so there's stability and continuity of that government. Now my colleagues are back in there, there's stability, there's no issues. My departure won't affect the institution. And it was after there was conversations about, within the party about coalitions, I allowed them the process and the time to conclude those. And a few days before Christmas, before going on holidays, it was a perfect time. There's no other news, and I knew that you needed a story, so I helped you out. So that's really the gist of it. What is my role in the Senate? It will be to contribute and assist colleagues, as and where the Senate feels I can contribute and be of assistance, and also be a resource for those in government as well. And ultimately, really, my own agenda is to set up my own colleagues for success. In a very small or meaningful way that I can do that, I intend to do so. Then there was a question about my recollection of the conversation. I'm sure Dr. Mashaba will do his part. It started some time ago, just before even the departure, because we used to speak a lot about politics and where the country is going. So there's an understanding and an appreciation of shared values. So it wasn't difficult for us to continue such a conversation because of that foundation. I'll let Dr. Mashaba to speak about the first one. And obviously, when he saw that I announced my departure in the DA, he publicly said that he'd invite me for tea. We had a very nice tea and meaningful conversations. And then it followed up, and then we had an agreement. We found each other. Because part of my plan was still to venture into private sector. So I had to turn down a number of opportunities and only consider opportunities which I can continue with while being an active politician. So it's actually, this should be an example for many young politicians to ensure that you don't taint yourself, you do your work, and ensure that you can still be active economically in the private sector without being dependent on politics. Then you'll end up seeing that you don't have any other prospect to move up the social mobility ladder than to steal. And I hope we can discourage it and inspire many young people to do so. I was not purged in the DA. I thought I said that out in the initial statement. Leading to my departure, none of you heard anything that Bongani is being investigated for one thing or the other. It was a clean pull-out. That's what it was, really. So, yeah, it was a clean pull-out. So that's what it was. So I really hope that we've resolved that. Has Helen Zille's return into the DA been positive or negative? The best way to judge is the votes. I can tell you how I feel. How I feel means nothing. But the best thing to tell is the votes. And how do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at a Monday press conference. So my feelings are immaterial because I'm So the thing here is an objective set of facts. And in our case, how do you judge if a party is performing or not performing? It's the votes. So you do a comparative analysis of the votes. Then you see what the voters are saying. And equally, then you also have an understanding of voters who did not go and vote. And those who went to go and vote for a new entity which they believe in, which gives us hope. So I firmly believe that this here is the party that's going to be the center of South African politics for a very long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bongani, Baloyi. Let me start with a question from PIFM regarding when the initial discussions happened. Bongani and I come a long way with the 3 years of my mayoralty of the city of Johannesburg. We used to really meet at DA events and just really became professional colleagues, not really friends. I mean, he's too young to be my friend. But immediately after the launch of Action SA in August 2020, I think, if I'm not wrong, if my recollection is correct, it must be about September, October. Right? That's when I called him for lunch to say, Bongani, we've now officially launched this political party as a result of an exercise or an initiative called the People's Dialogue. And someone like you is really very critical. So that was the first encounter. It is at that meeting where he indicated to Mrs. Herman, please allow me to live with dignity. Allow me to finish my term, and we can talk thereafter. Obviously, without giving me any commitment. And I was surprised. Was it in December when I learned of his departure from the DA? I didn't know anything. It took me by surprise. Luckily, I still had his number. Immediately called him, and the next day we had a lovely tea at my house. But even at that tea, there was no commitment at the time. And a few days before I left on vacation, I left for vacation on the 23rd. That's when I got a call that Bongani is happy to talk, and I said, please wait for me to come back. Went back to Mexico 2 days or so. A few days later, that's when we had our real lunch, a real lunch that delivered this press conference. So that's really what really happened. And Newsroom Africa,
Although you have it, Bongani Baloyi joining Action SA after he resigned as, left the Democratic Alliance after serving his terms as mayor at Midvaal. Already some reaction on social media, some saying that why are there no media conferences when other people join any political parties? What is special about Bongani Baloyi? That's Mthokozisi on Twitter there. I don't know if you agree with that sentiment, but this development coming in now, reports coming out of Burkina Faso.